I think the wildest part of all this is the fact that the pre-order is sold out. What have we come to? Hey guys, it's Cloudy, and today we are going to be tackling the big boss themselves, Nintendo. Jokes aside, Nintendo, this is all my opinion and falls under fair use. Don't sue me. Whew, now that that's covered, let's get into it. So, we've all heard about the announcement of the Switch 2, and people are obviously pretty excited. I'm not the only one that thought that Nintendo was kind of lagging behind in terms of platforms and didn't have much to offer compared to other companies. So the Switch 2 was a great announcement because it meant more games, better quality frames and stuff. Since Nintendo released the Switch, many other competitors have really improved their products and just have more variety, and I assume that Nintendo was feeling that, so they're now making the Switch 2. Sounds great, right? It'll be better quality, it'll have better rendering, more storage, more games. Here's the catch though. If you were planning on actually being able to own the things that you're buying, you might as well forget about it. So, according to the EULA, or the user agreement for the Switch 2, you don't technically own the Switch. You have the right to play it, but Nintendo can remove that right at any point and permanently ban your account. Now, I don't agree with this, but I can understand that they're doing this for the sake of trying to prevent piracy, I guess. The main issue that I have is the fact that games, specifically physical hard copies of games, are just not going to exist. You aren't going to be able to have a game cartridge. Now games will have a game key, which then allows you to digitally download the game. So essentially, you don't actually own the game. It's not your property. That means at any point, Nintendo could remove that game from your account and you would no longer have access to it, especially if your account got banned. Essentially, you're not buying the game, you're licensing it. Now, this isn't anything new. Other companies have done this for years, and Nintendo has also done this for years previously. The only reason that people are starting to realize this, though, is due to the EU, the European Union, passing laws that state companies have to be clear about ownership of games. We all remember when Ubisoft was being super vague about whether or not you would own the game, so the EU made it very clear that you need to include whether you legally own that as your property, or if the company is licensing it to you. Essentially, it's the difference between physically owning something, or even owning something in general, and borrowing or renting something. And I don't really know what to think about this because I feel like at this point in time, it's like such a travesty or like a disservice almost, because not only are you paying all the money for the system itself, but then on top of that, you're paying like anywhere from $50 to $80 per game. And then for that game to not even be something that you can own yourself, you're not even going to be able to have like a game cartridge that you can then use on like any Switch or anything like that. You need to have like a game key, and then you need to have an account that you can then like play it online. It just does not make any sense. It actually takes away the value of the game, in my opinion, because a lot of people buy physical copies for the sake of being able to actually own the game and have a sort of physical thing, right? If people wanted a digital key, they would just buy the game digitally. People buy a physical copy because they want a physical copy. So making it so you can't buy a physical copy essentially prevents people from being able to do that. There's no point in then buying the, box, the game box or anything like that, because why would you? People want to be able to own their games, right? Like, it's the same way that people who buy like DVD sets and things like that, which, let's be honest, in this economy, in this state of the market, you have to start doing it at this point. People want to be able to own the content that they see. They want to be able to own the content that they're doing. And this is also like very closely related to like streaming services and like that subscription based services, where now everything is a streaming service. Everything is a subscription based service. There's nothing that you yourself own now, right? If you're wanting to watch content, you're gonna have to go to a streaming service in order to do that. And God forbid you want to watch a show that has like a lot of seasons. Yeah, guess what? That show is not going to have seasons on all of the streaming services. So you're going to have to get one streaming service to watch, let's say, I don't know, seasons 1 through 3. And then if you want to watch the rest of the show, well, guess what? You're going to have to go and get another streaming service, because none of these streaming services have the full rights to any of these things. And we're getting more and more insane with the idea of streaming and subscription services. It feels like every single thing, whether it's like a huge corporation or a small sort of business, even like a lot of YouTubers, right, will just start streaming services now all of a sudden for no reason. And I also think like I am so sick of subscription based services and streaming services. I think like I know I'm gonna start doing this. And I think like a lot of people are starting to go back into like just buying DVDs, buying like, the physical copies of movies, physical copies of TV shows and things, because you now don't own anything. And we're going to get to a point in time where you're going to have to pay an exorbitant amount of money to even be able to do anything or engage in any kind of content. I mean, you already see this with like subscription-based services that introduce ads into their platform. Like, okay, you're already paying money for the streaming service, and then now you have to pay additional money so that you don't get ads on that streaming service. What is the difference between a streaming service that then has ads and stuff and only has specific seasons, and just watching the show on like a cable network or something like that? I mean, that's essentially what we're going back to, but just in a streaming format. And at that point, why not just go back to DVD sets? And I know like people are sick of it. Like people are genuinely sick of this. I mean, so many people constantly talk about how done they are with streaming services, and I'm one of those people. So listen, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I'm saying that we might see a return of like Blockbuster and movie rentals and all of these things, and like people actually purchasing DVD sets and themselves so that they can actually own the content, because as we're moving into this digital age, it's going to be even more difficult to actually know whether you own the content that you're paying money for, essentially. And I don't know, hot take, I think if I buy something, if I pay a certain amount of money for something, if I pay a lot of money, I should have the ability to own that item. Like if I am paying like $70, $80, sometimes even $100 for a game, I feel like I should be able to own that game in its entirety, right? I should not have to then have additional hidden fees, microtransactions. Oh, actually the game is incomplete, and then you have to pay for like additional patches, etc., etc. If you're releasing a game, you should be able to own that game. Specifically in the instance of like Nintendo, which is a huge corporation. It's a gigantic company that's been around for a very long time. We're not talking about like an indie game developer that is releasing a game patch by patch that is, in the spirit of game development. No, we're talking about a massive multi-billion-dollar corporation that at this point should be well aware of the way that the market is and the way that things are, and should be well aware of the fact that like people don't want to have to spend $100 per game and then they don't even end up owning it. Because what's going to end up happening is in the future, we're going to get to a point where you don't own anything. You're going to have to pay a ton of money for things that you're not actually going to be able to own, which I said before. And then on the same breath, now companies are going to be able to just take that away. So God forbid anything happen. You could not even do anything, but then all of a sudden you could wake up the next day and your Nintendo account has been banned and you no longer have access to any of the games that you have paid hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for. And I talked about this briefly as well, but I think again, that's a travesty, because it's like you're typically spending money on games because they're an investment, right? Games have replay value, they have enjoyment, you put hours into them. A lot of people are able to justify buying a game because they're gonna spend a ton of time on it, they're gonna replay the game, etc, etc. If you're now taking away their access to that game or their ability to actually own and replay that game, yeah, that's not gonna allow for a lot of people to justify buying things. And similarly, if people are paying $70-$80 for a game that's not even a physical copy, well, now there's no point in actually purchasing that game, because why would you when you can just buy it digitally, right? But the most wild thing to me in this entire situation is the fact that the pre-order has been sold out. So like, it's sold out. People are buying the Switch 2. And listen, if you want to buy the Switch 2, that's fine. Like, I'm not gonna, hate on you or shit on you or whatever buying the Switch 2, but I'm almost positive that a lot of people who bought, pre-order the Switch 2 probably don't even know any of the conditions in it. They probably don't even understand the thing about like the game keys and the like not being able to own a physical copy and things. A lot of people just bought the pre-order, they just got the pre-order and then they moved on with their day, which again, and I think it has a lot to do with like people's overconsumption needs, people's FOMO almost, where it's like, oh, I need to buy this new thing. And a lot of people also just don't do research into the things that they're purchasing, which is fine, but that's kind of how companies get away with it. That's how Nintendo has been able to get away with these things for years and years. That's how other companies like PS5 and Xbox, etc., have been able to get away with slowly but surely making these changes over time to a point where now you don't even own the content that you're buying, Anyway, this was honestly a very unscripted video because I just kind of wanted to talk about this. I know it's coming out, I think either tomorrow or today, depending on when I decide to post this. So I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to bring up a discussion. I might make a part 2 for this, depending on kind of how my thoughts go and depending on what the reception is, and in a few weeks to see like what people think of it. But yeah, that's basically everything. Let me know what you think. Did you pre-order the Switch 2? Are you looking forward to it? What do you think? I know a lot of people are just kind of like, oh, well, I just wanted an upgrade. So I'm like, what do you guys think? Let me know. I always love to hear from you guys. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, remember to like and subscribe and comment and share and all that stuff. I'm kind of at a point where like a lot of people who watch, like 90% of people who watch aren't subscribed. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, subscribe. As always, my Ko-Fi, Instagram, TikTok, and all of my membership information is in the description box down below. So if any of that interests you, check it out. And actually, if you're an artist or you enjoy looking at art, I actually post a lot of my art on Instagram. So if you want to check that out, here is my Instagram. It's the same thing. It's Cloudy at Clouds in the Rain on Instagram. So check it out. I promise my art is pretty decent. So anyway, thank you guys yet again for watching this video, and I will see you guys all in my next one. Bye!